All right, so Oracle. You're probably a little confused, right? They keep snagging these big AI contracts. Cloud growth looks pretty good, but then, bam, their stock dips after every earnings call. So what's the deal? Well, that's exactly what you're diving into today. We've got the transcripts for their last three earnings calls,
Yeah.
Q4 2024, Q1 2025, and that just released Q2 2025. And you know our mission, right? We've got to uncover those hidden anxieties that seem to be spooking investors.
Yeah, it's like we're financial detectives, you know? We've got all these clues scattered throughout these calls, and we're going to piece together the story, the narrative that the market seems to be reacting to.
Exactly. A perfect place to start is always with the tone at the top, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
So if you go back and read those earlier calls, Safra Catz, Oracle CEO, she's super optimistic, excellent quarter, outstanding performance, all the usual celebratory stuff. But something feels different in the Q2 call.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The excitement is definitely more subdued this time. She still highlights the good stuff, that record RPO, the cloud revenue projections. But there's this, I don't know, a new note of caution that kind of creeps into the conversation, especially when she starts talking about currency impacts and this investment loss that's going to hit earnings next quarter.
That's fascinating because it's not just what she's saying, right? It's almost how she says it. Like she's trying to carefully walk back expectations without actually saying, hey, things are going south.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, what do you think is causing that shift?
Well, one thing that really sticks out to me is this recurring theme of capacity constraints.
Ah,
Do
interesting.
you remember that crazy RPO number everyone was freaking out about? $97.3 billion?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Amazing, right? That's, an awesome indicator of future demand. But Oracle is basically admitting they're having trouble turning that RPO into, actual money,
Yeah.
at least not as quickly as they'd like.
Oh, I see. Because they can't build data centers fast enough to handle all that demand. Is that it? It's like having this super popular product, but you can't actually stock the shelves.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. And remember that mechanical problem quote from Katz back in the Q4 call?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, that's exactly what she's talking about. There's this friction when it comes to turning those signed contracts into deployed services. And that all boils down to limitations in their infrastructure.
Okay, so huge demand, but there's this bottleneck on the supply side. I mean, no wonder Larry Ellison is talking about building data centers as fast as humanly possible. He even mentioned, get this, nuclear power as a possibility. Talk about thinking outside the box.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, and it really emphasizes how urgent the situation is for Oracle. But for investors, that statement's like a giant red flag. Can Oracle actually deliver on those promises? Or will they just miss out on all this potential revenue because they just, can't keep up? That's the million-dollar question everyone's asking.
And I bet that's a big part of why their stock is doing what it's doing. All this uncertainty.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. I want to look at the revenue breakdown, see where that growth is really coming from.
Good idea.
What do the numbers say?
Well, cloud services are definitely the star, especially infrastructure as a service, IaaS, up a crazy 52% year over year. But there's also sort of a flip side to all that. Their traditional software licenses, they're going down. And that pretty clearly shows the transition that Oracle is trying to navigate.
So they're going all in on cloud, even if it means their traditional business takes a hit, at least in the short term.
Yeah, exactly.
And I noticed that Katz keeps talking about this third leg of cloud database revenue,
Yeah.
which comes from both their own Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI, and these partnerships they have with the big public cloud players, like Azure and Google Cloud and AWS. That's pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
Diversifying like that, not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Oh, it's a super smart move. Definitely a smart diversification strategy. But it also makes you wonder, where is all that growth really coming from? Yeah, the IaaS growth fueled by AI. That's fantastic. But how much of that is tied to just a few big deals, with companies like OpenAI and Meta? What if that AI hype cools down? Or what if that broader cloud adoption starts to slow down? Suddenly that reliance on just a handful of mega clients could become a real problem.
That's a great point. They're walking a tightrope, and, it's exciting to watch. But you can't help but wonder how long they can keep that balancing act going.
Yeah.
Speaking of balancing acts, let's talk about margins, because that's another area where things get a little fuzzy, right? And
Yeah.
Cass keeps saying they're improving, but she's getting less and less specific about the details. She'll say something like percentages are going up, but, without any real numbers to back it up.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. It's tough to, actually evaluate how profitable their cloud business really is compared to that legacy software segment. It's like solving a puzzle, but half the pieces are missing.
Exactly. And that lack of transparency, well, it just creates more uncertainty, wouldn't you say?
Of course.
Investors want to see the numbers, not just vague reassurances. Although there's this one interesting thing from the Q1 call. Ellison goes into this whole, explanation of how automation, specifically that autonomous database, is like the heart of their margin strategy.
Oh, yeah. That's an important point. Suggests that they're really betting on tech, to create efficiencies and ultimately boost those profits. It's a good story. But the problem is,
They haven't shown us the receipts yet. So we're left with this really intriguing story.
yeah,
But we're still waiting to see those financial results that actually prove it out.
Oh.
Okay. We've covered a lot. And I think we're starting to see a pattern here. They've got these impressive growth numbers, especially with cloud and AI. But there's also this undercurrent of anxiety among investors. Like they're not convinced about the long-term sustainability of it all. And, those lingering questions about profitability.
it really is a tug of war,
Mhm.
between all that potential and all that uncertainty. And that's probably what's keeping the stock from actually reflecting Oracle's recent wins.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they built this incredible race car, but they can't figure out how to get it out of the garage.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And this actually brings us to another interesting thing, the contrast between Oracle's public and private cloud strategies.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Well, if you really pay attention to what they're saying in these calls, you notice this theme, right? Oracle really emphasizing their flexibility when it comes to deployment. They're not like laser focused on just the public cloud.
Right.
They're also pushing these private and hybrid cloud solutions, especially for those clients who are maybe a little more hesitant to jump all in on the public cloud.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Think about, industries like finance and government, healthcare. They've got mountains of sensitive data. I mean, they might not be comfortable putting it all in the public cloud.
Exactly. And that's where Oracle's strategy could really set them apart in the long run.
How so?
Well, think about it, right? While, the hyperscalers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, while they're all fighting it out for dominance in the public cloud,
Right.
Oracle is quietly building this solid presence in the private and hybrid cloud space.
It's like they found their own lane,
Mhm.
carving out this niche where they can really thrive.
Yeah, exactly.
And wouldn't that mean a more stable, predictable revenue stream? Something that investors would really love.
Oh, absolutely. It could definitely be a way for Oracle to uh, tap into a bigger market and potentially avoid some of that crazy competition in the public cloud.
So they're playing the long game, building a sustainable business that can, meet all sorts of client needs. But it sounds like investors aren't quite convinced yet.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They see the potential, but they're not ready to buy in, at least not completely.
Yeah, I think they want more proof, more concrete evidence that this strategy is actually working. They want those margins to be clear. They want to see how those AI deals actually turn into long-term revenue growth. And they need to be reassured that that Oracle can really manage this whole transition, from that legacy business to this new cloud world.
So it's like a show me situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Investors are waiting for Oracle to really prove that this isn't just a temporary thing, that this growth is for real.
Right. And that's what Oracle needs to do. In the next few quarters, they have to deliver, show those tangible results that back up their strategy and really address, all those investor anxieties.
So let's take a step back for a minute
Yeah.
and sort of recap what we've learned. Oracle is definitely making big moves, right? In the cloud, especially in AI. They're landing some really impressive deals, and that growth in key areas, that looks strong.
Yeah, no question about it. But there are still some question marks hanging over them, particularly when you start thinking about, profitability and how sustainable this growth really is over the long haul.
And their move into those private and hybrid cloud solutions, that could be a real game changer.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty early,
Mm-hmm.
and investors are watching closely.
Yeah, it's a story that's worth following, no doubt about it. There's a lot of potential there, but there are also some risks. And understanding both sides of that equation, that's really important for anyone who's, thinking about investing in Oracle.
Couldn't agree more. So as you continue to do your research on Oracle, remember those key things we talked about today. Pay close attention to how management's tone shifts, because that can tell you a lot. Don't just get caught up in those big splashy numbers like RPO. Really dig in and think about what drives revenue and profitability.
Right. Right. And don't forget to look at the big picture. Oracle is in a market that's moving super fast, and the competition is intense. Technology is always evolving. Keeping up with those big trends, that's absolutely essential for making, smart investment choices.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of information, but I want to leave you with one last thought-provoking question, something that's been on my mind.
Oh, okay. I'm all ears.
Could Oracle's future be less about, going head-to-head with those giants in the public cloud, and more about becoming the go-to provider for businesses that really, really want that extra security and control, the kind you get with private and hybrid cloud solutions?
Oh, wow. That's a really fascinating question. And it really speaks to how the whole cloud landscape is changing. It's not a one-size-fits-all market anymore. There's room for different players with different strengths to, find their own space.
And it looks like Oracle's doing exactly that.
It's definitely a smart move, especially now. Everyone's so worried about security these days.
It's like they're building a fortress in the private and hybrid space,
Yeah.
while everyone else is fighting over that public cloud territory.
And you know what? It might actually work.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's a strategy that really plays to all their strengths.
How so?
Well, they've got years and years of experience working with these big enterprise clients, those companies with super complex needs,
Yeah, yeah.
and their expertise in database tech and security. I mean, that's perfect for the private cloud market.
That's true. Plus, they've got this, super standardized and automated way of building data centers. Ellison really emphasized that, right?
Yeah, he did.
And that means they can scale things up really fast.
Yeah.
And efficiently, too. Whether it's like a huge public cloud region or, a smaller private cloud, just for one client.
Yeah, that's a really strong selling point. It's like they can offer all that, that sophisticated tech and automation, but with the added bonus of tighter security, more control, and customization, that could be huge, especially for those clients in industries with tons of regulations or, those dealing with super sensitive data.
So maybe this is their secret weapon. Everyone else is, fighting over those public cloud scraps, and Oracle's over here creating this safe haven for those clients who really prioritize security and control.
I think you might be right. It's a strategy that shows they really get, how the cloud landscape is changing. So as you, keep an eye on Oracle, pay attention to how that private and hybrid cloud strategy plays out. It could be the key to their long-term success, both in terms of growth and, profitability.
So there you have it. We did our deep dive into Oracle's earnings. And, we got more than just numbers. We uncovered some of those undercurrents that are shaping their strategy and how the market sees them.
We looked at why the stock is doing what it's doing. We explored the potential of their cloud database business. And we even considered, whether those private clouds could be their secret weapon.
So now, armed with all these insights, you're ready to, navigate the wild world of Oracle's earnings and hopefully come to your own conclusions about what the future holds for them.
And remember, the financial world, it's always changing. It's dynamic. The best investors, they're the ones who stay curious, stay informed, and, stay open to new ideas.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, happy investing.
Closing disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Deep Dive to Earning Calls. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The insights shared are based on my analysis and supported by advanced AI-generated insights. While I aim to provide accurate and thoughtful commentary, the information shared may not always be complete or free from error. I am not a financial advisor, and this podcast does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice. Always do your own research, consult a licensed professional, and carefully consider your personal financial situation before making any decisions. Investing involves risks, including the potential loss of your principal. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.